So guys, this is the skirt part, and I already went ahead to just sew the lining to it and give it a good press. So we are just going to set this aside and start working on our upper bodice. So you can see that I went ahead to just iron down air stay and gum stay on the lining piece and on the main fabric piece. So we are going to start working on the front piece first. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to place them down and I'm going to start cutting out our soft wadding. This is what we are going to use for our padding. So I'm just going to cut them out. So after cutting out the wadding pieces, this is what it's looking like, and I just went ahead to stitch them down, and now I'm just going to pin everything together and sew. So I'm going to pin this side first, and we are going to sew that part, then we're going to pin the second part and sew the second part as well. So this is what it will look like when you're done. You can see that I did not fully pin it because I ran out of pins and I need to get new pins. So this is just what it's looking like. I'm going to sew this part first because I'm out of pins. So this is going to be the sewing process, and when I'm done sewing this part, I'm just going to go ahead and sew the second part, and you can see that I'm taking out the pins as I go. So I'm just going to sew this down, and then we are going to do the same thing for the second part. So this is what the cup is looking like after we were done sewing them together. You can see what it's looking like. We're just going to go ahead to take this to the iron and give it a good press, and we're going to work on the back piece now. So this is the back, and for the back is very simple and self-explanatory. You can see this is the dart line I marked out initially. We're just going to hold that all the way up and sew this for the two pieces as well as the lining pieces, because our sewing is going to be on the inside, not on the outside. So we are going to sew the dart for the back piece, for the main fabric pieces, and as well as the lining pieces. So we are going to go ahead to do that right now, and I'm going to come back to show you what it looks like. So this is what our dart is looking like. You can see that I did the sewing on the fabric first before moving ahead to join it to the lining piece. So you're going to sew on the fabric and on the lining pieces, and then you're just going to join them together and give everything a good press. So that is what we are going to do next. So when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to go ahead to notch the sides and flip it over to the other side. This is how it looks like when we are done. So you can either choose to trim off the excess that you have here at the inside, or you can choose to just give it a good press so it lays down really well, whatever you prefer. So next we're just going to bring in our yoke parts, and then we're going to bring in our lining pieces and just lining them the way you would normally lining your main fabric piece to your lining piece. This is actually self-explanatory. After sewing this, we're just going to notch the sides so everything relaxes properly when we flip it over to the right side and give it a good press. So this is the front piece after we were done giving it a good press. And we're just going to lay this down, and you can see that I made a mark at the center piece. This is going to help me know where my yoke is going to sit. So from that center piece, I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'm marking 1/2 inch on both sides. So this is going to help me know that my lining, my yoke is going to start on the other sides that I just marked. So you can see that I'm just placing it there, and I'm going to pin this down, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other parts. I'm going to pin it all the way. You can see how I'm placing this, and I'm going to pin this, and we're going to take this over to the sewing machine to just sew. So here you can choose to sew this down before going ahead to add your lining piece, or you can just place your lining piece on it like so and just sew everything all the way down. Whatever works for you is what you should do. So I'm going to do that, and this is what it's looking like after we were done joining our yoke piece. You can see this is what the inside is looking like. Next, I'm just bringing in the skirt piece, and we're just going to join them together by 1/2 inch, and we're going to as well do the same thing for the back pieces. So this is what the front piece is looking like after we're done joining the top and the bottom together. Next, I'm going to bring in our lace, and I already made use of this lace initially, so you can see that it's looking a bit shortened. So this is exactly what I have at my hip measurements, plus my allowance is what I have here. So I'm just placing this down because it's going to be okay to work with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim out some of the excess around this part here. So for the length of the lace, I just took my tape, and from my waist point here, I just took note of the measurements to my hip line, which was 14 inches here, and I multiplied that by 3, and that was the length I used. So for the first method, you can either choose to just pleat them all the way up and just use your pins to just pin them down as you go, but I was out of pins. I didn't have enough pin for this, so I just thought to show you guys this method, and you sew it down on both sides when you're done. So this is one way to do it. So the next method will be the gathers method, and this will depend on the kind of lace you're working with, because while I was doing this, I found it really hard to drag out the gathers while doing this method. So you can either drag this to the 14 inches mark and then you pin it down and you sew, or you can choose to do it this way, which was me just pleating the lace as I go. So I'm just going to keep pleating and sewing it down as I go till I get to the 14-inch line we had at our hip line area. So that's where we're going to stop and do the same thing for the other side. So this is what it's looking like. We're going to go ahead to do the same thing on the other side. So guys, we're done sewing on both sides. We're done sewing down on both sides. What we're going to do next is we're just going to sew the center part just to hold it down. So you're going to gather this up, but not too much. But if you're going for another look, you can choose to do that the way you see me doing my hands right here. So you can pin this down, or you can just take it directly to the machine as I did and gather it up and sew as you go. So I'm just going to sew. As I'm sewing, I'm just going to gather it all the way, one at a time, till I go ahead to sew every last pleat on the center part. So we're going to sew this, and you're going to see what it looks like when I'm done. This is what the drape part is looking like. So next, I'm going to bring in the back piece, because I went ahead to just join the back piece and add the zipper behind the camera. So I'm going to place this right sides facing each other, and we're going to join the shoulders together. And next, after joining the shoulders together, we are going to put in our body measurement and close up the dress. So that will be all for this dress. We are going to move ahead to do working on the sleeves. For the sleeve, we are going to be needing an elastic and a basic sleeve, and this one is 16 inches long. So what we're going to do with the basic sleeve is we're just going to slash this open. So I'm going to slash this open, and when I'm done slashing this open, we're going to place this on our fabric. So guys, you can see that I just went ahead to place them on separate sides, and I used my chalk to just carve out the line following the armhole we have there. So this is what it's looking like. And next we are going to cut them out. So we are going to cut the first piece. This is actually unfold. So when we're done cutting this piece, we are going to move ahead to use this piece to cut the second sleeve as well. After cutting out the two pieces, this is what they are looking like. So what we're going to do next is we're going to fold the bottom part of the sleeves, and this should be wide enough for your elastic to pass through. So you're just going to fold it like the way I did, and you're just going to run a line on that. So when you're done running your line, you come back and fix in your elastic. So I'm going to do that for the both of them, and this is what it's looking like. I went ahead to just sew it down, and this is enough for my elastic to pass through. So this is my elastic. I just went ahead to add safety pins so it can help pass through easily. So I'm just going to pass this through now. After pulling my elastic to the other side, I'm just using my safety pin to secure it down over there, so it doesn't like the elastic doesn't goes out when I'm dragging it. It's just to secure it. So you can see that as I'm pulling, the elastic is still staying in place. So I'm just going to pull this till it gets to the desired length that I want, and once I'm okay with the length, I'm just going to confirm with my tape, and once I'm okay with the length, I'm going to run a stitch on the both sides so the elastic stays in place. And that is it for the bottom part. You can see that this is what it's looking like. I still have my hands holding it, but I'm going to take this to the machine. You can see that I went ahead to stitch it on both sides, and this is what it's looking like. So next, you're just going to pleat the shoulders all the way up when you're fixing it on your sleeve, and that is all. So that is all. Like I said, you're going to just gather this the way you would gather your pleated skirts. So you're just going to gather this in small gathers, in small batches. So guys, this is the final result. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you liked it, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed already, and I will see you on my next video. Bye guys.